Look behind me. You got the three L's behind me. Live, laugh, and love. And I bring you love this morning from the Dr. T.E.A. show. Sitting right next to me.
Thank you. And I said, ditto back at you.
And she's throwing it back at me. And guess what? I receive it. Thank you,
Okay. All right. So do I. Bless you.
So we got a great show lined up because we are celebrating and introducing our guest, Miss Bessie Houser Hunter. And let me tell you just a little brief story about our coming together. We met first time last year, and she was selling her book. And of course, I'm always supportive of everyone, but I had to purchase a book. So she gave me her Cash App information, and something's wrong with my mic. So just a moment, let's see. Going in and out, not sure why that's happening, but just a moment. Am I better? Great. Okay. Technical mic issue resolved. Just that quick.
Okay.
Amen for technology and people who know what they're doing behind the scenes. So anyway, as I was trying to tell you, I don't know what you didn't hear, so I'm going to start from where I remember leaving off at. So I met Miss Bessie last year sometime, and she had her book with her, and I'm always in support. Love to read great stories, and so I purchased her book. She gave me her Cash App information, and that's the way we proceeded with friends, and so we did. And I need to step away from the camera for just a moment for a tech issue. Be right back. Okay, you couldn't get rid of me that quickly. I'm back. So anyway, I cashed her the money for the book, and it's a delightful book. Has some drama and trauma in it, but guess what? You see her side beside me. So whatever drama and trauma this book portrays, she's dealing with it, have dealt with it. She's a sibling. She is a mother of how many children, Miss Bessie?
4 children.
4 children.
4 children.
She works hard. Yes, ma'am. How many grandchildren?
12 grandchildren.
How many great-grandchildren?
8 great-grandchildren.
So
8.
So drama and trauma didn't stop her, and it shouldn't stop you either. Life goes on. As long as you're 6 feet above and you're not burnt up, you have an opportunity to write it down, put it in a book, let it go, and deal with it. And that's just what she did. And so we're going to start with a few. I'll start with a few questions, and I'm just going to let her talk. So the purpose of this is for us to grow, not to embarrass anybody, not to shame anyone. But when you deal with drama and trauma, the only way to deal with it is to write it out and let it go. So she's released it, and she's a fine woman. In addition to all those other traits that she has and characters and hats she wears, she loves God. She's a God-fearing woman. And so we like people like that in our life, and so I'm going to keep her. So So you listen up as she tells her story. We might have to do two shows on this because it's pretty intriguing. A lot of informative information, a lot of information that we need to know, because we know from her generation times were really hard as it relates to racism, and now we're back in those times, and so we just need to deal with it and do our best to write our own script and live a life accordingly that is a pleasure to others, giving and taking at the appropriate times. So, Miss Hunter, Miss Bessie, I call you Miss Bessie, so that's why I'm blundering as I say your name. But Miss Bessie, let's just stick
Yeah.
because that's what I know best. Miss Bessie, where did you get that title from? Blood on my mud cakes.
I got that title from experience that I endured during my childhood. I was under the age of childbearing, and my mother would send me to the store to make purchases for her. And when I went to the stores to make purchases for her, the proprietor, two of the proprietors in our neighborhood would sexually abuse me, sexually assault me. I was afraid to tell anyone about it. And I was 54 years old before I told anybody about the rapes. But when I was growing up, I had a happy early childhood because I loved to play uh, make believe housekeeper. And so I would take old sheets and quilts and other items that were no longer used in the house. They were tattered, and no longer for use in the house. And I would take them and I built myself a makeshift house on the side of my house. And I would use tin pans and uh, old mason jars tops and jars and anything I could use in my makeshift kitchen to do my
Mm-hmm.
make believe cooking with. I would do
Right.
that.
Mm-hmm.
Use berries and leaves and sand and water to make. I would use the sand and water to make my mud cakes. And when I was old enough to go to the store by myself, and my mother would send me. I would uh, I would encounter these experiences with the proprietors of the well, one was a little neighborhood store, and one was a bakery in the area. Uh, well, it was a resale uh, bread store, is what we
Mm-hmm.
called it. They
Mm-hmm.
sold day
How long?
old.
How long did this take place? Was this years of abuse or a short period of time? What? How long was this?
Um, about a couple of years,
Oh my.
to my best recollections.
Mm-hmm.
But I was so happy in my playhouse, and then
Yes.
after this all happened,
Mm-hmm.
to me, and it was so devastating that instead of going into my playhouse to play, I would go there to try to figure out what was happening to me because I never thought that, my genital area was made for anything except to pee pee or TT out of, So
Right.
I
Right.
didn't know, what was going on with me. So I would go into my playhouse instead of playing, like I usually, I'd go there just, to sit and try to figure out what was going on with me. And that's
Mm-hmm.
why I named the book Blood on My Mudcake, because
Mm-hmm.
it was like, they was just bleeding all over my happiness, of playing as a child.
Mm-hmm.
I
Yes, they did. Were they ever prosecuted or anything? Or
no, No one ever knew about it. I didn't tell anybody about it until I was 54 years old. And the only reason I revealed it to my sister at that time is I was an adult, and I had uh, experienced being saved and sanctified and filled with the precious Holy Ghost. And my sister would always say, I hate white people. And I didn't want her, to die and go to hell. So that's why I told her, we have to love in spite of what, goes on with us, in spite of how we were treated. We got to love people and pray for them, regardless, of what they do, against us. And she would, so I told her about the rapes at that time, and she cried, So she never said it did or did not happen to her, because she used to go to the same grocery store, and she was my older sister. She was a year and 9 months older than I am. And
And
so,
all of this took place in Selma, Alabama, right? And we know Selma is a historic city in Alabama because of Bloody Sunday and some other great things that came out of Selma. In reading your book, a fascinating book to me, your story, not just the drama, but there are other things that occurred in Selma that made you who you are today in a positive way. For example, she always admired Dr. Walker, who delivered her siblings. Uh, and he was always so kind in the neighborhood. And, we all need someone to look up to as a child, look up to and see that good part. And I used to say it myself when I was a child and going to Sunday school and all that. I said, I want to grow up to be just like her. Of course, I learned better, but some people you don't need to grow up to be just like, because of the facade. I found out some people were fake, but I'm over that. Well, that's when I was a child, and then as I grew into a young adult, I discovered, oh, those people don't act like they look. you
yeah,
know so
right.
I got over it, and now I know, so you have to be careful. So I'm keeping Miss Bessie. She's truly a jewel in many, many ways. But through all of that, she was able to become a nurse. She takes care of our little kids in our community right now. She's a prayer warrior, and she got some other great gifts there too. But she's one of those people who like to be behind the scene. So today we're bringing her out in the limelight. So one other story. There actually is a couple more, so that's why I say we might have to do. You have you on the show twice, but the first one that I'm really impressed about is as a nurse, a young nurse at that. She held one of the civil rights activists' hand in Selma as he passed on. So tell us briefly about that situation and how that made you feel. Did it make you weaker or stronger?
I remember Jimmie Lee Jackson. He was one of the activists from Marion, Alabama. And they were doing a nighttime march uh, to the protest march to the jailhouse, because it had been rumored that one of the activists that had already been arrested was going to be killed that night. He's going to be assassinated that night. So they, after the mass meeting at the church there, they were walking to the jailhouse to protest and
Yes.
see if they could get him released. And uh, on the way there, the lights, all of the street lights were uh, put out, and the posses, the troopers, and all the law enforcement and the Klansmen, they all pounced upon the marchers and started beating them. Some of them uh, ran back into church. Some of them ran as any place they could go to try to seek safety. But Jimmie Lee Jackson and his mother and his 82-year-old grandfather, they all ran into a cafe that was behind the church in Marion, Alabama. and during that time there, when Jimmie Lee Jackson entered the cafe, uh, they said that he saw them beating his mother and his grandfather, so he went to try to get them free, and that's when they started beating him and backed him up against the wall, and then they shot him point blank. The ironic thing about that is Jimmie Lee Jackson knew the trooper that shot him, but when they brought him from after they continued to beat him, and on his way out he fell on the ground, and then they arrested him, and after they processed him, then he was put in a private car and brought to 30 miles to Selma, Alabama, where to the Good Samaritan Hospital, where I was working the night shift. And I was working on the second floor, but my supervisor, she knew that I was active in the movement. So she called for me to come downstairs to attend Jimmie Lee Jackson, because he was a victim of a civil rights march that was in Marion, Alabama. So I came down and I attended Jackson there, and they he had a gaping hole in his belly with his intestines protruding about the size of a grapefruit, and he had a laceration on his head. So I put a normal saline gauze, which is just salt water gauze, on the wound on his abdomen to keep it moist so that his gut wouldn't dry out. And then they called in one of the black doctors there, which was Dr. Dinkins. He took him to surgery and attended the laceration on his head, sutured up the laceration on his head, but didn't do anything about the gaping wound in his abdomen. We just continued to bandage it up with salt water pads. And so then I took him upstairs to a room where I attended him, and I attended him every night for that week. And on that Sunday night, I was asked to take Jimmie Lee Jackson when I got on duty at midnight. They asked me to prepare him for surgery. So I prepared him for surgery, and as the orderly and myself was rolling him to the surgical suite room, he took my hand and he held it, and he was thanking me for how well I had taken care of him, because he had been in so much pain and suffering during that week. And he was saying, if I don't come back, sister, I want you to stay as sweet as you are and to do like Dr. King has ordered us to do, and that is to be nonviolent in this fight. And he said, if I don't come back, he said, just know, all is well. I just want you to remember what I told you. He had told me some things, the reason that where he revealed to me that he did know who shot him, but he didn't talk at that time because he didn't want any retaliation against his family. He didn't want them to be taken out because of what he would say. So he did not, but he had told me, and he asked me not to reveal it, to anyone. So he told me when he on his way to the surgical room, he told me, he said, don't, remember not to say anything about what I have told you. And so he said, and if I don't come back, he said, just remember what. And I said, oh, Mr. Jackson, you coming back, and you're going to feel so much better after this operation. You're going to feel so much better. But he had a premonition that he wasn't coming back. And after the surgery, about towards daylight that morning, they had called me to come and take him to the recovery room. I had never worked recovery room before, and perhaps I had been taken there to view it during my nursing, training, but I didn't remember any of that. But anyway, I took him to the recovery room. But uh, before I took him to the recovery room, they told me to go and get some Ringer's lactate, which was downstairs in Central Supply. So I went to get him some the IV fluid for him. And when I came back and knocked on the door to the operating room, they didn't answer, so I had to knock a little harder. And so they finally uh, uh, opened the door. But before they opened the door, I could hear them laughing. And one of them said, uh, we'll just say one of those things, just poor anesthesia tolerance. Well,
Mm-hmm.
after I took him to the recovery room, I could not revive him. And I just, watched him uh, drain away. And after I couldn't get any vital signs of life on him, I didn't know where. There was not a phone in the room that I could call for help, and I didn't have a buzzer that I could ring for some help.
Mm-hmm.
So I was just devastated there
Mm-hmm.
with him.
Okay.
And I didn't realize what had really happened until after he had passed away. you
Oh
know,
my.
and then I recalled what I had heard, in the vestibule of the operating room. And
Mm-hmm.
so when
Mm-hmm.
I left, so finally the day shift came in, and the nurse came into the room, and I told her, I can't get any vital signs of life on him. So she assessed him and she said, yeah, he's gone. So um, I left the hospital and I was just devastated, and I just,
No
I
doubt.
just,
Mhm.
I just
Yeah. No,
cried.
no doubt. No doubt, Miss Bessie. I agree with you. I'm kind of feeling some type of way in a sad way just listening to the story. And how old was Mr. Walker?
26 years old.
26, a young man.
Yeah.
Just as you were at that time. Do you remember how old you were?
I was I was about 19 or 20.
Okay.
Hmm.
Well, as I previously stated a couple of times, we're going to have you back because there's some other things that we need to discuss in the book. One of them is that one of our main publisher of magazines and glamour and all that, his ancestors are from Selma, Alabama. So I need for you to tell me about that. I need for you to tell me about the songs you and your sister wrote. I need for you to let people know what your song, the listen to the lyrics of your song. You don't have to sing it for us, but I need for them to know. And guess what? That was back in the day, as we would say it, in this generation,
Yeah,
and it's still here today. So we're
yeah.
gonna have to grow. We're gonna have to learn to let go and grow. And we're gonna have to write the script for ourselves. So, Miss Bessie, I want to ask you now personally, and also if you have any questions, audience, we can answer your questions live. But we're getting ready to sign off in about 4 minutes. But Miss Bessie, can you join us next Saturday so we can finish this?
I, I, I okay. I would say yes.
Yes, okay.
I would
Well,
try to make
uh, like I
arrangements.
said, we got some other things that we need to cover, and we want to make sure our audience get the full understanding of your story, as we should.
Mhm.
So thank you for joining me today, and I look forward to being with you next Saturday. Because you have some knowledge that we need to hold on to. We need to grab a hold to your spirit, Mama, and just get some of it because some of us don't know how to get it, and some of us just don't even know it exists. And
Mhm.
so we just need to help each other find some love and laughter because you're
Mhm.
alive. You're alive to
Yes.
do those things. And you
Yes.
don't have, I don't care what your drama and trauma was, you do not have to walk around hating yourself,
No.
not even hating the person who portrayed it, the perpetrator.
Right.
You're going to have to learn how to forgive, as Miss Bessie already told us what she did.
Mhm.
Forgive. Don't wear that hate in your body, nowhere in your mind, heart, soul, and spirit, because it will only make you sick. I mean, physically sick. And
Yes.
then mentally, your
Yes.
decisions are not good decisions.
Mhm.
So we're gonna sign off for this morning. I sure did enjoy you, Miss Bessie, and I enjoyed your story. I enjoyed your book. It's available on Amazon if you're interested in purchasing the book, and she has it available in Kindle also. It's a good reading, and it's let's see, it's 115 pages, and y'all can read that in no time. and get the story. And I hope you join us next week, okay? So I'm
Okay.
signing off. Yes, ma'am. Signing off next week. Until next week, I still send you love, send you all the happiness that I have. Remember, I'm available from Saturday to Saturday. So, I'm a person. I suppose I'm a person. I'm assuming I'm a person that like to be used. So use me up. So join me next Saturday. In the meantime, contact me if you need to. Thank you for listening. Bye. Have a good
Bye-bye.
day, Miss Bessie. Thank you
Bye-bye.
so
Good
much.
day.